Good morning, guys. It's me again, Miss Purvis. All right, let's talk about these poems. Now, this is for the one that has Dream Within a Dream and Musicians Wrestle Everywhere. It is the USA test prep dated March 31st, and the code is CEJATEBABA. So I got a handy dandy little pen that's supposed to write on the screen for me. We shall see if this works. All right, so let's talk about this. Musicians wrestle everywhere. Well, we know what wrestling is, but in this case, wrestling is a metaphor. It's used as a metaphor and a symbol. So when it says musicians wrestle everywhere, okay, when it says musicians wrestle everywhere, my pen does not work. Well, that is disheartening. Okay, anyway, musicians wrestle everywhere. I want you to look at wrestle as an implied metaphor and as a symbol. Wrestle is to create music, so it's comparing wrestling to musicians creating music, and so it has the musicians as a symbol of people who make music. So when it says musicians wrestle everywhere, it means that their music is everywhere, okay? And then moving on down, okay, musicians wrestle everywhere, all day among the crowded air. I hear the silver strife. Okay, the word strife is a word that I want you to think about. Strife is like trouble. It's conflict. It's something that's hard. So here's the silver strife. So the musicians, they are creating music, but maybe their music doesn't quite go together. Remember, if you're wrestling with somebody, you are opposing them, you try to overpower them. So it's like the music is not harmonious. It's disharmonious, okay? And then look at your second stanza. All right, this whole second stanza is really an implied metaphor because, not an implied metaphor, an extended metaphor. It is comparing nature, the sounds of nature, the life of nature, to a band making music. It is not the bird, it has no nest, nor band in brass and scarlet dress, nor tambourine, nor man. It is not him from pulpit red, the morning stars the treble led on time's first afternoon. That that stanza, I just want you to think about that, is comparing nature to a band making music. So then your last stanza, some say it is the spears at play, some say that mighty majority of diminished dames and men, some think it is service in the place where we with late celestial face, please God, shall ascertain. All right, spears at play. Okay, I want you to think it's spears at play. You know that spears are typically circles, so think like planets and stars, that kind of thing, and they're at play. So really, can planets and stars really play? No, not really. So they're personifying. She's personifying planets and stars. And then think about what the musicians represent. Okay? If we were talking about this in class, that is where we would start, what the musicians represent. Okay? And so you do have a question that is something like that, and I'm looking for it. If we were to discuss this poem in class, which would most likely be the main topic of the discussion? Okay, y'all. You've got, your answers might be in a different order than what I have, but it should really stand out to you that the musicians in the title, we would talk about what the musicians in the title represent. You know, when we study poetry, that's usually what we start with, the title, or at least the first stanza, and go through that, okay? Now, the one part of this is then your hyphens, okay? So I'm moving on through. We've talked about that. All right, let's look at hyphens. just to point out a few things. All right, so like this number 8 here, it asks which sentence correctly uses a hyphen. You're looking for the one that is correct. All right? But then on the next one, it's which has an unnecessary hyphen. So if a hyphen is unnecessary, it should not be there. So let's talk about this number 9 on the screen. My cousin is 7 years old. Remember, if you're using the year, if it said my 7-year-old cousin, then it would be hyphenated. But because the phrase comes after the noun, not before it, you would not need the hyphens. So it is actually A that has unnecessary hyphens. But in that, you can look at B, C, and D and see some other things that you need to pay attention to. I just love chocolate-covered cherries. Chocolate-covered would be hyphenated because it is modifying cherries. My favorite time of the year is mid-October. Okay, the mid is hyphenated because it's describing a time in October. And then Samantha paid $22 for those shoes. Well, you would hyphenate 22 because it comes before dollars, okay? That should help you answer some of these other ones. Now, let's move on to dream within a dream. Poe. Okay. It's actually, I actually like this poem by Poe, and I would like to spend a lot more time on it, but I'm trying to make these videos short enough where I can upload them from home. So let's talk about dream within a dream, and that's one reason why I'm not reading the poems to you as I normally would, and I'm trying not to digress and talk too much. Okay, dream within a dream. I want you to think about this. There are a few essential illusions that you need to understand. Typically, in literature and life, we think the sands of time. Sand often represents the passage of time. And so, sand represents the passage of time. And then you have, let's see. And so holding the sand in your hand and the sand slipping through, like it does in the second stanza, is showing time passing, your life passing. Okay, the overall theme of this poem is life is fleeting. So what the heckito does fleeting mean? It means that fleeting means that something is temporary, it's passing. It means that it's not there to stay forever. And y'all know we don't live forever. We're not immortal that any of us know of yet. Okay? So time is fleeting. Life is fleeting, rather. Okay? It passes and then there's an end. And he compares it to a dream. Okay? And we're going to look at the poem. He says down in the last two lines of, I'm sorry, my puppy dogs are wrestling over there. You can probably hear them growling. It's not me growling, I promise. All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. So there's where he's telling us life is like a dream, okay? And then in the second stanza, line 14 to 15, and I hold within my hand grains of golden sand. Now, I want you to remember golden sand, that's like the sand of time. Okay, that represents time. And then the next part, and remember sand equals time or life. And then the next part, how few yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep while I weep, while I weep. All right, this part, y'all, and I really wish this pen was working. I'm going to have to figure that out. But anyway, this part shows that time is passing, the sand is slipping through his fingers, and he wishes it wasn't. So that leads us to believe that time is passing, life is passing, slipping through his fingers, and he wishes that he could make it last longer. Okay? And then if you look in lines 16 through 18, how few, yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep while I weep, while I weep. All right, that's what we were just talking about. Okay, he's sad. I want you to remember that another word for sad or sadness or to be sad is lament. Lament. If you lament something, you mourn it, you're sad about it, okay? And then moving on down, O God, can I not grasp them with tighter clasp? O God, can I not save one from the pitiless wave? All right. he wants time to stop. He is very emotional in this part. He's crying out, "Oh God," which is an exclamation, okay? Like, "Oh God." But I want you to remember that expletive, okay? That's the word they use in the testing, expletive. But it's like an exclamation. And then he uses the rhetorical question. You know, can I not grasp them with tighter clasp? It means he's saying, can I not? Even though it's a negative, he's saying, why can't I grasp them? Okay? Why can't I save them? And so he's using rhetorical questions there. So in those lines, he's using expletives of "oh God" and then the rhetorical question to show his sadness and despair. He's very emotional. And then he finishes the poem with that same line, "It is all we see or seem, but a dream within a dream." Okay, that is a very, very quick description of those, but it should help you. I do want us to go back. I forgot to tell you about one word. Look back at the first poem, the Emily Dickinson poem, where they use transport. And let me find it. Or am I thinking about the wrong poem? I've looked at so many of these. First stanza. Such transport breaks down the town. Okay, right there, transport. Transport in this case does not mean to travel. I mean, you know, we talk about transporting goods. That's not what it means in this poem. And you remember, words have multiple meanings, and just depending on the time period. All right, so for this question, which definition of transport best applies to its use in line 5? Okay, it is not carrying or moving, and is not transportation. So it's either banishment or bliss or joy. Okay, so bliss or joy, that's happiness. Banishment means that you are kicked out of somewhere. So such transport breaks upon the town. I think that new life. Okay, if she's talking about that this transport creates new life, do you think that's banishment or exile, or is that bliss or joy? It seems pretty positive to me. Okay, transport has a very positive connotation in this place, so that should tell you what the answer is. All right, I hope this helps, guys, and I'm going to do the other poems also. Take care of yourselves, be safe, and y'all please, if you can, please limit your contact with people. Please. Please, please, please. All right.